So you're seeing what's happening is that there's this subtle discomfort. When we're subtle discomfort, it poisons our thoughts a little bit somehow. You know? And then when the thoughts get poisoned, then there's a little more discomfort. And there we go. You know? So you have to be aware as a human being that this is happening. Okay? The first thing that you have to do is be aware that this is even happening. Because most people aren't even aware that it's even happening. Okay? So just spend some time, you know, just as you're going through your day, just sort of noticing when there's a subtle discomfort in you. Just notice that, oh, it's there. Why? I'm making breakfast. I mean, it's a nice morning. What is the weirdness? Okay? Just notice that it's there. The more that you bring your consciousness to it, the more you sort of like starve it. You know what I mean? These things work in the shadows. When you bring them out in the light, there's just nothing there. Notice some of the causes of, or some of the effects of those feelings. When your mind is feeling weird, when you're maybe being snippy with people, or, you know what I mean? You feel yourself becoming angry. You know, we want to bring consciousness to driving this human mind-body bus down the road. Lots of variables, lots of things to consider, you know? But we can see very plainly how things are developing inside us that we don't want or intend to develop, and yet it's just sort of happening automatically. So it's an important part of your practice to just sort of monitor, to just sort of notice, because you can live without that. That's the good news, you know? Is it doesn't have to be there. If it is there and you can't break it up, then just let it be there and be aware of it. But as we more and more bring our consciousness to this part of our humanness, you know, we can certainly transform it. I think the big parts of that are, 1, be aware of it. 2, realizing that you are not the thoughts and you are not the pain. You are the one aware of those things. You're watching what the mind-body is doing, and you are aware of what the mind-body is doing. And it is doing it on its own, without your input. Well, now you're going to have some input. Now you're going to look and you're going to say, okay. Whatever you're doing, mind-body, you don't hide it from me anymore. Okay? Bring it front and center and just let me see it. Can we let this go? Do we need for this feeling to be here? I don't think we do. Let's let it go. And you start to notice that it starts to go away. You're bringing consciousness to an unconscious process that's happening inside you. And an unconscious process that's probably happening just due to conditioning and habituation. And very importantly, identification. Don't be identified as a person who's in pain all the time. Don't identify yourself as someone who is screwed up or hurt all the time or upset all the time or off the rails all the time or anything like that. Don't take that on as an identity. That's when it will be the hardest for you to let go of. Realize that you're not that person. You know? Does that part of it make sense, that last segment? It just becomes like an identity. And I'm someone who's always upset. And then next thing you know, you're just always upset and you're grabbing onto it, you know, because it's an identity. Now, I don't know how else to say it, so I'll just keep repeating identity over and over again. It becomes an identity. It becomes what you are, and you don't know what you are without it. And so even if it starts to go away, you go looking for it and you pull it back. You know what I mean? Like that's the strange thing about being identified with something is that you don't kind of don't know who you are without it. You don't know, who am I without all of this pain and all of this upset? Who am I? I've only known myself to be in pain and upset. Who am I without it? And that's where it becomes a problem. You don't know who you are without it. This is a very important point. You know, being identified with pain. I'm a person who is in pain. When it's you, how do you get rid of it? You have to realize that it's not you. Don't be identified as pain. Don't be identified as a person who is in pain. This is who I am. No. It's habituation, wiring. You are the one that is observing it.